Most men want more clarity, more respect, more control over their lives, but few know how to get it. Welcome to the Bro Coach Podcast with Dennis Procopio, the founder of Man Up Life Coaching and the man behind thousands of transformed lives. Not red pill, not therapy, just the evolved man's blueprint for strength, presence, and purpose. Welcome to another episode of the Bro Coach Podcast. I'm Andrew Bontz. I'm here with Dennis Procopio. We are on episode number 9, which is a continuation of episode 8, where we talked about the man code and the 10 principles in the blog post. So how's it going, Dennis?
Oh, it is going great, Andrew. Thanks for asking.
Well, we had some good feedback on last episode, so I wanted to circle back and talk about you went over the final 5 in quick fashion last week. So I want to dive in a little deeper with each of the man code answers. But before we do that, if this is the first episode they're listening to, can you give them a quick recap of the first 5 to flow into the final 5?
I sure can. So here's what we talked about. We said that men need a man code. And a man code for modernity means that not only are we trying to keep elements of our fathers' man codes all the way back to the caveman. Codes like don't shit where you eat. That one's been with us for a while. But there are some newly revised addendums that we've had to add because the modern guy is faced with some different challenges than he has historically been faced with. So Andrew noted in our last our last episode, that this blog post, Man Code for Modernity, which is on the manuplifecoaching.com website, seems to have this sort of 10 commandments sort of energy. And it's just short little paragraphs, but they're really technical paragraphs, and they seem to be advising from maybe some sort of a culture or civilization or religious perspective. And he kind of came to me and said, what is up with that? What does that all mean? And then we went down the rabbit hole. The first one was practice being peace. In a nutshell, and you can, check it out, check out the previous one. But basically, practice being peace was practice being still. Stillness and peace are synonymous in this cosmology. 2, practice being intelligence. I posited the idea that intelligence is a singularity, and that, like a streetcar, we put our antennae up and we access the energy matrix. So we borrow intelligence in our best moments, but we are not actually the authors of intelligence, and arguably could be considered artificial intelligence. And again, there's a rabbit hole there. The third of these axioms was practice being real. Now, there is a whole lot of philosophy dedicated to hammering out what real means. And I think I just sort of split the diff on all of that and said there's an argument that our current existence is illusory and that reality is beyond the veil of what we're able to perceive with our space-time meat-body apparatus. And so meditation and presence give us an opportunity to expand our understanding of reality. The fourth of these instructions, as it were, or suggestions, was practice brotherly love. This is not a gender-specific suggestion. We're just saying all men are brothers, brothers, sisters, what have you. But basically, guys should see other people as themselves. And so when you treat another person as you would be treated, things go a lot better. And there's a world of interpretation there, of course. Uh, so now we're getting into number 5. We're going to, nope. And number 5, that's right. Number 5, we did cover number 5, just kidding, was practice respect for all creation. These are just such casual little ditties, but the implications are profound. Practice respect for all creation. I could tear that apart. If all creation is something that I have to respect, then there's the argument that I have to practice respect for it from outside of creation. How does that work? And that's not how that works. We are all creation. All creation is all creation. It's just very self-referential, this whole experience we're having. So when we practice respect for all creation, that just means that anything that we experience is and should be treated as an extension of our highest self as a singularity. It's the sort of love God concept, even if you don't speak the God language. Practice respect for anything and everything that you perceive. Now, going into 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Uh, the language, well, the punchline is practice faith in the infinite nature of existence. Andrew, what the hell is Dennis talking about here, do you think?
Practice faith in the infinite nature of existence. So I've used nature before in one of the previous ones, but this is almost using it in a different context. Before, we kind of used nature as more of just existing kind of as you are. So practicing faith, I think it's almost like letting go and leaning into the flow of things. I mean, I'm no philosopher, but that's my gut reaction.
Everyone is a philosopher, Andrew. We wouldn't be here. Trust me, you don't get to have an asshole without also having an opinion. That's true. That's how humanity works. You're welcome. So look, dude. So in this sort of little language that I've created here, this lexicon for this piece, I'm calling creation anything that can be experienced, including the experiencer and the experiencing of the experience of just all of it, the whole shebang. That it's a very everything is everything idea, creation. So for anybody who, cracks open a Bible and reads from the book of Genesis that God created everything, I think it's fair to say, they're not going to say God created everything except Legos or, except smog. No, the idea is that if there's anything that we experience, it is necessarily an aspect of all creation. So the nature of creation, when we talk about the nature of reality or the nature of creation, I think what we're hinting at using language, which is a pretty rude tool to try to perform this operation with. I think we're saying that nature is the characteristic of a it's I think we're talking about mechanics. I think that's what we're talking about. Mechanics. That there's an order to things, that there are rules. So I think when we talk about the nature of anything, we're sort of talking about the mechanics of it. So if we say have faith in the nature of creation, I think we're saying have faith in, we know everything is everything, but have faith in the way we come to the understanding that everything is everything. Like it has rules. Physics, for instance, is obviously a rule set. And there's an argument that physics exists within a larger container called metaphysics. And then there's an argument that metaphysics lives in a container called mind with a capital M. And mind with a capital M could arguably, just as everything is arguable, that's why there are holy wars, but could arguably be the mind that is called God, Allah, Hashem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the very top, you have an inventor inventing himself, kind of like the MC Escher drawing of the hand drawing themselves. So when we say have faith in the nature of creation, we're just saying have faith that there is an order and a reliable mechanism within that allows us to have an ideal sort of user experience as creator and created.
So you're saying have faith. Do you feel that's different than practicing faith in the infinite nature of existence? Is there a difference between having and practicing?
So it's interesting that you ask that. It says, you have faith in the nature of creation. Your self-talk may attempt to guide you toward fear and away from faith. Faith is rooted in the idea that fear is rooted in the idea that existence doesn't exist, which is foolish. So if I say you have faith in the nature of creation, I'm saying, well, of course you have faith in the nature of creation, because just as you have faith in physicality because you're physical. I don't have to get you to believe in physicality. You're a demonstration of the existence of physicality, at least in this particular way of being. Faith is the quiet knowledge that creation exists. Now, somebody might say, this sounds like stupid. So you're what the hell are you talking about? Like, of course existence exists. Would existence not exist? Or all we are is dust in the wind? It's like, are you stoned? Like, what the flip? And so I know that sounds nuts, right? But really, really hear me on this, okay? Existence, to say existence is redundant. So how do you make it less redundant? Do you say existence? Because then that kind of cuts out part of it. You just say is? Because then the question becomes what is? And it really sort of points to this sneaky little thing about language, that it's, we have this noun verb thing that we do, at least in English, right? And so we imagine that we're nouns verbing our way through something we call time and space. And even that distinction is sort of a split atom. It's a riff in understanding, and meditation heals that rift. So when I say you have faith in the nature of creation, I'm saying you're not insane, because you would have to be insane to not have faith in your own existence. So fear is rooted in the idea that existence doesn't exist, which is kind of like a person saying, what if I'm imaginary? Well, of course you're imaginary. The problem isn't the fact that you're imaginary. The problem is the fact that you don't realize that everything is imaginary. There's your issue. So when you practice, so then I go on to say some really wacky shit. I say nature is the soul of creation and we are its singular witness. That's where somebody's like, all right, so this is a dude who's going to tell me how to get abs and how to like get further up the, ladder in my corporate, trying to make it to C-suite. Yeah. Because when you go all the way to the top, this is what people are really obsessed with. I've got the hot wife. I've got the awesome kids. I've got all the toys. I'm out there listening to yacht rock. My yacht's got a yacht. I've got, money in the bank. Shorty, what you drink. So what is this all about? What's really going on? It is inevitable that as a man in your life, you're going to ponder this. And the answer is knowable. I don't imagine myself a guru. I don't imagine myself a messiah. I don't think I'm special, but I do know that if you practice meditation long enough and redirect what I call shit scripting, which is fear-based language, then you're going to end up discovering that nature is infinite in existence, and that because the nature that is in you and the nature that you are in are the same nature, then the fly in the ointment here is you. Or more specifically, it's the idea of yourself as an absolute concrete entity. So how do we move on from that idea? We go to number 7, practice transcendence. Ah, boy, it's going to get weird. Let's stop for a second. Transcendence. What does it mean? It means to transcend. What does that mean? It means to remove yourself in some way from the context that is currently defining you. In fact, let's see how transcend is defined. To go beyond the range of limits of something abstract, typically a conceptual field or division. Okay, so I'm not that wacky. Google transcendence and it gets a little conceptual. It's not an easy idea. So you transcend both emotion and reason. What the hell does that mean? Let's start with the baby. A baby, like I'm talking like in utero, not even out here yet, isn't thinking 2 + 2 is 4 because it's not logicking. A baby is not logicking. There's not a baby in utero is not deploying reason in any capacity. Emotion. Well, we learn to emote. It's a verb. That baby is going to come out and it is going to learn to be happy and sad. It's going to give labels to all of these behaviors. I am of the belief, based on experience, that you learn to emote. I do not think that to emote is innate. I think it's learned. So, self mastery is transcending reason and emotion. A feeling is a sensation, you feel it. This is appropriate. And I'll interject and say hot, cold, shivering, sweating, you know, heart racing, anxious, whatever. These are physical feelings. You feel them. When somebody says that they feel an emotion, well, I don't agree with that. I think you feel a feeling with your body. I think you associate an emotion with a feeling. When my heart races, I emote fear. Or when I emote fear, my heart races. An emotion is something that you emote in response to a feeling. You choose it. It doesn't choose you. Reason is a process of rationalizing perception. Again, this is your construct. And so you give it meaning, not the reverse. Sitting and observing the intention to emote, as well as the intention to reason, reveals the nature of creation. This is self-mastery, practice transcendence. Now, what the heck do you think that means, Andrew?
Hey man, stop spinning your wheels. If you're serious about leveling up your career, your relationships, and your mindset, it's time to man up. At Man Up Life Coaching, we cut the excuses and build discipline, confidence, and purpose. Book your free strategy session now at manuplifecoaching.com/application. Don't fill it out if you're not ready to grind, but if you are, this call could change your life. Man Up Life Coaching, elite life coaching for men by men.
My thought goes to that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And when you have your feelings or emotions, you have the control to be able to shift that, right? You're giving it meaning, so you're in control. So that versus your feelings making you doing something or your emotions making you doing something is what I hear when I read this.
When you say your emotions making you do something, that's exactly where guys miss the mark. That's like saying your clothes making you wear something. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
You choose your emotions like you choose your clothes. They don't make you do anything. The problem is, like, the thing I like to go back to is like I historically had this fear of rats. Didn't help that I grew up between Philly and New York. So our rats were not, little nice little country rats. They were like, these Norway super rat that that have the intelligence of like an 8-year-old and, have, bad intent. They're not your friends. And they're pack animals. So like I was necessarily scared of rats, but I did fully understand how committed I was to phobia of rodents as part of my identity. All I knew is when I saw the movie Indian in the Cupboard and this rat got away earlier in the movie, and then later when you least expected it, it jumped out. I damn near had a heart attack, and that was a real thing. Like it really hit me. It freaked me out. I didn't care about horror movies, Jaws, anything. It was a giant rat that got me. Reading like, 1984 or whatever with the guy with the rat mask. Like I had this crazy thing with rats. So now I thought about it and I'm like, okay, back when I was a kid, my mom was really, really freaked out phobic of rats. She started telling me stories about my dad pretending there was a rat in the car or whatever, like that they drove over a rat and climbed in through the tailpipe or whatever, and him making squeaking noises, like, or whatever, and her being like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So pretty much from my earliest memories, I was conditioned by this neurotic, Jewish woman with a laundry list of clinical conditions to think that rats were just the scariest thing ever. Like, freaking, of course, that's going to stick with me. That's your mom. She's like the most powerful person in your universe when you're a kid. So I'm like, okay, in the rock, paper, scissors of this thing, rat trumps mom. Good to know. That's my kryptonite. And it was only later in life when I realized that I had made this, I was this badass who'd walk through the streets of New York until I saw a rat. And then I'd like grab the nearest baby and try to use it to kill the rat. Like I didn't care. I made it to make rats go away. I'm like, okay, you're screwed up, dude. You got to fix that. And so I made a point to go to a Petco or PetSmart or one of those. I can't remember which one it was. Brought a girl with me that I was dating at the time to protect me, and we and and had the young lady who worked at the at the store take out a hooded rat and set it in my hand. You do not understand what it means for me to say she put a rat in my hand. You can't know what that means. It was, I was, I literally almost had a freaking heart attack, like actual literal. I was sure that it was going to sense my fear, run up my arm, chew my eye out, go into my brain, and just start routing through my skull. And I'll fast forward to the end of this story. The rat's name was Elise. I named it. I bought it a cage. I bought a couple $100 worth of whatever rat supplies, brought this rat home with me, and was determined to make friends with this thing. And by the probably 2 months into having her, I was able to leave her cage open. She would run free. I would draw and she would run in one sleeve, out the other, perch on my head, nibble my ear. She was like probably the closest relationship I've had with any animal was with this goddamn rat. And I'm like, I think I can die now. Like, I think I have achieved the most amazing thing in life because this was my nemesis. Like, I couldn't even sit on the toilet without thinking that a rat was going to come up and bite me in the nuts or something. I couldn't, I could, like, I couldn't meditate without like tripping about rat. So, how does this all have to do with emotion? Because I chose to emote fear. I chose to emote panic. I had a narrative that responded to that choice. And I decided we're not going to choose that anymore. And I manned up. I bought a pet rat. And when that rat was in my hand, I sat with the feeling, sweating, heart pounding, could possibly faint. I felt myself wanting to choose shame because I was being a little bitch. Uh, Fear because my nemesis was going to kill me and it was touching me. And instead, I said, I'm going to practice peace in this moment. And sure enough, dude, I'm healed. To this day, I see a rat and I'm like, oh, cool, a rat. It's the most nuts thing ever. Yeah, it's the most nuts thing ever. I mean, and I teach this in coaching. Like I have a client who, when we first started, like told me that he's a skinhead and, or not a skinhead, but like a white supremacist and super, like prejudiced or whatever. And in the time we've been working together, he's radically changed his position just by changing his language and changing the emotions that he associates with some of these ideas. So practice transcendence. Be still. Be careful of an emote that you choose. Be careful not to use reason as a way of justifying your choice to emote fear or whatever. And when you can do that, that's self-mastery. It's a whole lot of words. It's a lot easier. You know, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, imagine what a couple hours of meditation is worth. But that's what it is. Practice transcendence. Thoughts?
I feel like we talked about that one a lot, and they have 3 more to go. So I'd love to go on to number 8.
Well, number 8 is, we talked about that one a lot because that's arguably the most important one.
Good.
Practicing transcendence is the most important one. If of all of these, if I could have anyone like really lock in and say, I'm going to do that, it would be to sit still, which is number 1, and choose alternatives to existing narratives. And that's where number 8 comes in. You create as you speak. You know, from the Aramaic, you know, the term, you know, abracadabra, you know, I think it's like avracadabra or something like that. And which means I create as I speak. And in Hebrew, same deal, only it's I will create as I speak. Your words, whether internal or external, meaning whether you're thinking them or whether you're vocalizing them, manifest in creation through the power of nature, which is just a fancy way of saying thoughts become things. Words literally matter. Yeah. When somebody says sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, bullshit. Exhibit A, the N word. Words have power. So, Exhibit B, validation. You're awesome. There is just so much power in validation. So when you speak with respect and love for all creation, which is a fancy way of just saying validate. Redirect self-talk or spoken words which contradict the spirit of respect, humility, intelligence, love, and singularity. Practice good words and thought. So practicing good words and thoughts, here come the philosophers to say, who determines what's good and what's bad? I've had people call me, oh, that white boy, and I'm like, I'm not offended that they said that white boy because I know the nature of, I understand the intention. It wasn't malicious. A different person could be like, oh, that guy. Now, it's like the words themselves aren't harmful, but there's an understanding that it's got a little something on it. So good words and thoughts go together because it's not only the word you say, but it's the intention behind the word. Copy?
Yeah, this is one we've talked a lot about in the couple of years we've been working together and being an analytical, ruminator in the beginning, especially with what I went through in, the relationship ending that I was in, and several other things that happened to me with the divorce, towards like, if you haven't practiced this, you can lose a day or a couple days or a week or a month or a year, of your life with the wrong words in your head. And maybe some people never get out of it. Right. So this one for me really hits home.
Can you give me an example of you not practicing good words and thoughts and how you can see in retrospect that that became a self-fulfilling negative prophecy?
I mean, just thinking about, when you screw up and you start calling yourself an idiot, or what were you thinking, or who am I to deserve that, or those sort of talk, that sort of self-talk, to where, you know, like in that relationship where, or in previous relationships where it's like, yeah, I deserve that, I'm, I was, I was not, good enough, or I am not good enough, right? In the moment, right? Whether it be historical or when you're going through the shit. Those words of like, I'm not good enough for her. Or, I mean, I even remember in my marriage where I would say, like, I married up, and that, like, she's prettier than I am, right? Like those things that we kind of say as moments, uh, but uh, they they have meaning, right? And it's important, where in my marriage, where I kind of manifested that mindset that, like, put her on a pedestal, that I could never be better, I could never do better, so I needed to do anything, including change who I am, to bend to who I thought she wanted me to be, to have her stay with me, because if she left, I could never do any better, right? Like that, that is, that is programming that I had to rewire.
Have you done better?
100%. Yes.
So just, to prove that this isn't all just a bunch of like froofy horse shit, like in reality, we worked together, you changed your language, not only surrounding yourself, but surrounding the type of woman that you would like to be with, and in fact have been with. It's important not to say, oh, my ex was such a bitch. Like, that doesn't actually serve you. You just say, you know what? My ex had her problems and I had mine.
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't aligned and now we're not together. Like, that's super healthy, right? Then you say, Who do I want to be with? Well, for right now, I really want to just kind of work on me. So you work on you. I like who I see in the mirror. I'm going to the gym. My numbers are up. I decided to break out of my, social anxiety constrictions and take a salsa dancing class. I'm, in my engagements with women, both in person and on the apps. I don't feel like I'm pandering to them. I don't feel like I'm being self-deprecating or snarky. I feel like I'm coming across as confident and healthy and nice. And the result is that you found a woman who is awesome and is healthy, and you're in a potentially lived happily ever after situation that you could not have imagined being in before, because even though you presumably wanted it, your language didn't support the idea that you expected it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I, right? Like, am I right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. 100%. That's a lot. All right. So let's see. Number 9, practice good deeds. Okay. In theory, that shouldn't be so complicated. I'm like, please let this not be like totally out there. Like, what the hell was I smoking when I wrote that? But no, but it's all really good stuff. But it's a lot. It's super heavy. It's basic ideas written very, in a very heavy way. Your actions are constructive. That's real. Your actions are constructive. When you do anything, you create something, even if that thing you create is a hole, ground zero, a dead body. My point is, you're always creating. Your actions are constructive. Footprints, vibrations, breath, anything. When you move, you actualize. What does that mean when you move, you actualize? It's literally like saying, like, when you move, a bunch of stuff that you can't see moves with you. It's like doing the wave. Like, you just kind of put a whole lot of energy and particles in motion every time you move. You're really not invisible. Your perceptions are constructs that result from your actions. What? Let's run that back. Your perceptions, all right, I see stuff, are constructs. Okay, so they are a bunch of little particles and energy all just kind of put together that are a result of your actions. That's the fancy way of saying you might have drunk dialed, somebody, and you don't remember it, but now they're here and you're like, well, why are you here? Because you called me. That's how it works. What are all these packages on my porch? Well, you might not remember it, but you ordered a bunch of shit from Amazon and now it's here. That's what happens. Subconsciously, you order a bunch of crap, and then when it shows up, you're like, just my luck. That's not luck. You're doing this. That you have to come to terms with what creation really means and how to harness it. Understand the power of your actions and make every deed one whose intention reinforces the miraculous nature of creation. Boy, it really sounds like a lot when you say that, but it's really super simple. Power of your actions means you have the potential to put ideas in motion that manifest no matter how possible they may seem. And you want to make sure that every deed has an intention that supports the idea that you understand how this all works. Right? When we said the nature of creation, we're talking about the mechanism that allows for this crazy dynamic between creator and created. That's the whole jam right there. That's a game we're playing. We're authoring a movie that we're watching. You are always creating. You are never not creating. Even right now, God knows we are creating. We're going to put this out there, and about 9 million people are going to go, what the holy shit are these two on about? But maybe about 20 people will be like, oh my gosh, somebody gets it. Those 20 people are the reason that we're doing this. And even if nobody gets it, we're still putting a vibration out into the universe that has value. So remember, you're never not creating. So use nature properly. Practice good deeds. Practice good deeds. Well, how do I know if it's a good deed and not a bad deed? Right? You know. I mean, honestly, you know. If it comes from a place of validation, if it comes from a place of love, if it comes from a place of forgiveness, if it comes from a place of mercy, if it comes from a place of togetherness rather than separation, if it comes from a place of where the intention is peace and goodness as your common, that's your denominator. You know, you learn this in kindergarten. It's not that hard. Ask a child. They know good. They know right from wrong. 10. Practice being home. I know some party people who might want to take that advice, but that's not really what this is saying. This isn't saying knock it off at the FOMO and stay in your house. It's saying you are home. Now, let me just stop right there. What do I mean, Andrew? What am I saying you are home? What the heck is that all?
I think to me, I hear like you are good at, you are whole as you are.
That's good. You know, you're reminding me of my high school yearbook slogan. Long Island, 1988. And the slogan was, who says we can't?
That sounds very Philadelphia.
Yeah. No, this was Long Island. This was Long Island.
Okay, East
Yeah, this is Long Island. Yeah, it's very East Coast.
Coast.
Yeah, I went to school. I'm Italian American. I'm a Jewish Italian. I went to school with a bunch of Guidos. They're like, who says we can't? Because they're raised with a dad who's like, you suck, do better. You know, like blue collar grinder that's telling you, you know, work harder, be better. You know, I broke my back to put this, you know, food on your plate or whatever. And so you got a bunch of guys who are like holding themselves to a very high standard because their inner critic is going, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough. Who says we can't? It's really just does not hit the same as, hey, we can. You know, like my partner Celia, you know, is raised in like New Canaan, Connecticut. She's like, yeah, we can. Sure. You know? And so when you say, you know, that the idea that you're home means you're good enough, even the idea that you're good enough is there's something built into that that kind of says, you know, you're good enough. You don't like totally suck, you know, but and it's not a criticism, but I'm just saying you are home means, well, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. They had to go on a whole journey only to come back to realize what they were looking for wasn't only there in the Emerald City, it was also right here in Kansas, which is why when they come back, instead of being in black and white, they're in Technicolor. It's a story of enlightenment. And the enlightenment wasn't about escaping Kansas. It was about understanding that the miracle of revelation can happen anywhere at any time because all of this is our home. You could never go anywhere and not be home. Somebody says, all right, well, what if you do, right? You travel to China and you end up all out there somewhere where, they never see white people and you don't speak the language and you feel like just a dumb idiot and you're getting culture shock and you're just like, I just want to go back to America where I can, I don't know, read the street signs and, not be looked at like a social pariah or whatever. Well, I get that. I get that. And that's where practicing transcendence is really critical. Because if you think of yourself as an American or a dude or white or an English speaker or any of these other limitations, you're missing what your true identity is. Because the thing that makes everyone in that village in China them, and everyone in that, town in Sweden them, and everyone in that DMV in Michigan them, there, it's everyone is home when we understand who and what we really are. The distinction is what makes a labyrinth of a pretty simple situation here. You are home. Creation is your home. It is your body and your mind. Nature is the soul of creation. What does that mean? Nature is the soul of creation. Your divine essence, your spirit, whatever the heck you want to call it, the energy that makes your freaking heart beat. Nature is the soul, is the foundation of creation. And soul, because soul is a collective concept. If you say somebody's got soul, they get it. I might not have hit that note right, but I got soul because I hit it wrong like a boss. Soul, I could feel it. So all of this is your home. You are perfect as you are. And you said that, but there's a difference between saying I'm perfect and I'm good enough. You're perfect as you are. But what about my imperfections? Your imperfections are part of being perfect if you back up far enough. What you can do if you transcend, what you can do if you shut the fuck up, what you can do if you meditate, what you can do if you stop shit scripting. And then I get all sappy at the end here because I guess I wanted to land it real hard so I could start my own church and make all the money. You are not I'm kidding. But no, seriously, send me money. You are not alone. We are here with you and you with us. That's real. If you're listening to this right now, jokes aside, you are not alone. We are here with you and you with us. I don't just mean Andrew and I are here with you. I mean, we are here with you. The force is with you. No, really, we are the force and the force is with you and the force is with us. Here one loves you. This is a holy place. I'm being a little cute there because I once had somebody tell me that holy stands for here one loves you. Homeless guy. I needed that message. Never stopped remembering that one. Stop searching for what you not only already have, but truly are. What does that mean? It's Wizard of Oz all over again. You're looking for a home that you not only have, but that you are. You are literally home. Not you are literally in a house. You literally are that which is home. And understanding this will overwhelm you with gratitude. That's why people cry tears when they finally get it. whether they're evangelists who have been saved or whether they're people who've gone through some trauma, like beat cancer or something, and it just creates a perspective shift. Had a kid in the hospital and somehow that kid comes through and suddenly they have a new lease on life. Practice being home means not only you are at home, you are that which is home. And when you understand that, you can offer that to others. Andrew, this is going to sound weird as hell, but I'm just going to ask you, like, as long as we're going there, in the time that we've been working together, real talk, is it true that an aspect of us working together is that there's a familiarity in this mentorship dynamic where you feel a sense of home being offered to you that gives you a feeling of safety and security?
Yeah, I think that's like the acceptance, that kind of like the unconditional love that we've talked about previous episodes. That brotherly love is something that I didn't trust it. Hadn't trusted most of my life. Like that unconditional love exists outside of with my mom and maybe my dad.
Yeah.
Having that opportunity to just show up as I am, in my shame, in my faults, in the insecurities, in all the things I'm proud of, and then just kind of like you open up that door a little bit of your heart and you're like, is this guy gonna shit all over me like some of the other guys out there? Like, do I have to perform?
Right.
Do I have to try to be somebody else so this person respects or loves or likes or appreciates or whatever word you want to attach to that? Like, putting all that aside and just being like, okay, well, he seems real, right? And that's how trust is built, right? Like over time, little bits at a time, where it's like, okay, he keeps showing up. He's always there when I need him. And he doesn't judge me, doesn't ridicule me or put me down or any of that stuff. And in fact, it's a lot of the opposite, where it's like, dude, like, what are you doing?
Well, except for the part where I told you to change your tampon in DMs.
Well, sometimes you need a little tough,
Sometimes you need a buddy to show you a little tough love, but you know where it's coming from.
the kiss and the slap, right?
That's right, right.
Where it's not like you're telling, it's not, it's that mirror, right? You've talked a lot about the mirror, to where oftentimes you look in the mirror and, the self-talk is, some parts, if you're in your lows, to where it's like, man, look at you. Like, how'd you get so fat? But then when you find, as you figure this shit out and, work through these 10 and you practice some of these 10, you get better than you were before at them. Obviously a lot of room for improvement. Then you walk by that mirror and you're like, holy shit, look at that guy. It's like, yeah, you're a good dude, Oh yeah. And I think that's like the actions, that's like the ripple effect that I would say, when we talked about one of the previous ones, is those actions with like a brother in arms with you, or coach, right? You're my coach. That's what comes from that. And I'd never seen it before. So it's real shit.
Yeah, right. And truth in advertising doesn't work very well. So the problem is, how do you bottle that and sell it, right? Because in theory, money can't buy you love. But in this, it's bizarre, but in this culture, one of the things that's really being offered is, hey, dude, on one hand, I'm going to give you instruction. Like, here's how to change your tire or freaking whatever. But on the other hand, when you do it wrong or whatever, I'm not going to be like, you that shit, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's understandable. And if you do it wrong 10 times, I'll be like, all right, well, 11, maybe 11's a charm. Because when you're home, home is a place where you are loved unconditionally. That's why I said it's a holy space. Here one loves you. So I guess for the listener, if you take anything from the man code for modernity, it should be one, practice stillness, which you'll discover to be impossible, especially if you have ADHD, but try anyway. Like most of my freaking clients, because they're all smart guys that are like, a lot of energy. Two, good words, good deeds. Yeah. And finally, be home. Be home. That's it. Be home. Don't just be at home, be home. Offer home. Just like everybody you see is like a rescue dog. Offer home to everyone. Copy.
You betcha.
All right. On that note, Andrew, play us off stage.
All right, man. We said some shit today.
Yeah, I know. This is another one of those. I'm like, oh, fuck, do we put this out there or do we just like kill it and go 7 steps for, better breath or whatever? Like, I hate putting stuff out there like this, and then my guy runs it through Claude and is like, tell him this is awesome and to stop second guessing himself. So hopefully, I don't know who you are, but if you're somebody who's picking up what I'm putting down, great. Love the positive attention. I hope it's one, don't be afraid to come tell us you like what we're doing. 2, visit manuplifecoaching.com if you want more of the same, because this is kind of a whole culture. And if you're somebody who's not understanding what we're doing or feeling a certain kind of way that's not positive or negative, I'd actually love to hear from you. In fact, I'd love to get you on a podcast and talk to you. So until the next one, I'm Dennis Procopio. I am the Bro Coach. Andrew Bontz is my ride or die here on this podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening.